All right, maybe 15 again.
That's good.
10.
Mike's on, phone's on.
Welcome to this week's meeting of the Rockland Board of Selectmen, coming to you live on WRPS from the H. Bernard Monahan Memorial Room here at Rockland Town Hall. On the agenda this week, we've got ambulance abatements, an update on Estes Auto, and a Rockland Saves update. Now here's the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Ed Kimball.
Good evening. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Would you all please rise and join us for Pledge of Allegiance? Mr. O'Loughlin, would you like to lead us? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening and welcome. Please be advised that this open meeting is being broadcast live and recorded by WRPS for playback on Comcast Channel 14 and Verizon Channel 31. It will also be available for online video on demand viewing at WRPSRockland.com within 24 hours of its conclusion, as are other recently recorded meeting and community events. Please go to WRPSRockland.com for further information. Wow, that's a new one. Thank you. Now, on the open forum, we have nothing tonight. We had some retirements, but they're going to be postponed to our September 5th meeting. Under minutes, item number 2, open session minutes of July 17th, 2017.
Motion to approve.
All those in favor? That's a unanimous vote. Oh, and I'd be amiss if I didn't say that Mr. Mullen had a family event and could not attend tonight, so he sends his best wishes to the board. Under unfinished business, we have item number 3, ambulance abatements. Mr. Chalker.
In your book is the cover letter. I know that the backup material was in the back room for selectmen to peruse over the end of the week, but Chief Duffy is away, still working on, I think it's the final leg of his training. It's the 4th year I think he's gone to Fire Academy in Maryland. March 2017, there's a request to read his letter. He's requesting that the board abate March 2017, April 2017, and May 2017, which are contractual allowances, meaning the company that does the billing wants to write off those amounts because it cannot be collected based on type of insurance patients have. March 2017, $95,261.46. April 2017, $78,734.74. And May 2017, $96,264 for a total of $270,196.84. Requires a vote of the board.
Do we have a motion?
This is a routine.
Mr. Ryan cannot.
I cannot make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? So that's 3, and Mr. Ryan has abstained.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 4, Estes Auto update and MOA. Mr. Chalker.
The board we've been following on Estes, and it has slowed down somewhat as we try to work with the state to get the final award. The slowdown on getting things done at Estes has been the fact that the court had to appoint somebody as a common law receiver. That process has been finalized. Also, the person that was handling this for us at the state has retired, and there was a replacement that had to get up to speed. There is a new municipal vote required for the reimbursement of obligations. We're coming up to the deadline. The state has changed the form. The obligations on the part of the town are still the same. Should the site be sold, gifted, or whatever, passed on, the state would like to get reimbursed its amount. If we realize enough from the sale after the cleanup of Estes, the state wants to be reimbursed. Should there not be enough funds from the sale, then they would like to receive 15% of any economic benefit, i.e. property taxes, up until the state has been repaid, or 30 years. This is the exact same agreement the board voted on in the past. I'm asking you to renew that vote with the new form and the new person at DEP.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? That's a vote unanimous, 4 of the... Okay, item number 5, we have a Rockland Saves update.
Very briefly, Mr. Chairman, as you know, monthly we try and keep the town apprised of how far we have come. This is the Rockland Energy Efficiency Report. We have reached 53% of our goal, and that was through the end of June. That does not include July. So we've already completed their goal of 35 replaced thermostats, and they've gone to wireless thermostats. At that point, they were only one short on replacing old refrigerators or freezers with the voucher. Heating systems, they've done 28 of 32. We're still a little behind on air sealing and insulation. I would encourage all homeowners in the town of Rockland to call the number, or call here, contact us, and we will put you in touch with their community line. They can go to our website, and we had great success the last 2 days. A representative of Able has been in the lobby while people have been coming in to pay their taxes. My understanding is we got close to 50 leads out of that. They've been in attendance at the farmers market here at Town Hall on Friday afternoon, so we're making progress. There's not a lot of money in this for the town of Rockland, municipality, but for the residents, there's a lot of savings to be made. So I would urge people to take advantage of that program. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, item number 6, Highway Department update. Mr. Taylor?
Good evening.
evening.
Just wanted to bring everybody up to date on where we are with the road project as of this year. We're about halfway through it. We just finished up French's Crossing, Azalea, Magnolia, Evans, Sunset, and Dublin. Those were all micro-surfaced as well. All we have left there is the signage and the striping, and those will be wrapped up. And we also have the Crescent Street, George Street drainage project that we have going. That's about 95% done. What we did there is, if you notice the curbing on Crescent Street, we asked the engineers to stick put the pipe, the drainage pipe, under the sidewalks. So we were replacing the sidewalks as opposed to, replacing the street again. So that enabled us to get everything on Crescent Street and get the radiuses by the school, the shoulders going down George Street done. All we had to do was come up with a small amount for the curbing from Chapter 90 funds to finish up everything on Crescent Street. So they have some finished paving in the fall. Then Crescent Street, Vernon Street, and George Street will be repaved in spring of 2018. So those will be finalized. National Grid came out and finished the remaining gas lines that needed to be done on Vernon Street, so that's all wrapped up. The water's all wrapped up. We got the sign off from sewer, so we're good to go. Everything's final over there before we do the pavement again. So the other projects we have going on right now is around the schools. We got the Taunton Ave, Division Street, Lower Reed, and Duffy Way. That is all under the Chapter 90 funds, so none of that is coming out of the road project. So that's brand new curbing, brand new sidewalks. It's 5-foot wide sidewalks, except on Lower Reed, which are 6 feet because of the telephone poles. We're supposed to have at least 42 inches on the back side of the telephone poles. We opted for 4 feet, just so we can get our snow plows behind on the back side of that, so we'd be able to do that without doing damage to property. All those areas are going to be ADA acceptable as well, so we've got ADA ramps adjoining any of the side streets. That's including Plain Street, going across on North Ave, and Belmont, Pacific, and Upper Reed. That'll all be linked together with ADA ramps as well. So that will also help us, once the state starts seeing, we're getting a little bit more ADA compliant, we can reach out and look for more grants as far as that goes. Let me see. Also on that, we're around the school project, we'll be Also bouncing over to Eston School from the Levin Road area. So we'll be going to Levin Road, across the street, Summer Street, Eston School entrance. That's gonna be all new ramps there as well. And then we've got 5 push-button crosswalk systems, RFBs. So those are all solar powered. So we have one of those going over on, across from Summer Street, Levin Road. We've got one going Plain to Lower Reed, one going from North Ave to Division Street, Duffy Way, crossing Duffy Way, which seems to be a problem there for the crossing guards. And then we've also going one on Crescent Street, the James Street, for the drop-off for Jefferson School. So everything this year will be kind of wrapped up by the schools. And then what we've done is we've committed over the next 5 years the Chapter 90 funds, which we usually get between $350,000 to $400,000. So we've committed between $250 to $300 on new curbing, new sidewalks. So next year we'll be bouncing over to North Ave. So North Ave would be 2018, 2019 would be Plain Street. So we're working from the schools out to the main roads, and then once we get all the main roads done, then we'll start concentrating on small areas from there. So again, those will be Chapter 90 funds, and that still leaves us about 100 to 150,000 per year. And what we've been doing this year, we've been taking some of the smaller, worse roads that we have, and we've been doing overlays and micros and short money roads, we call them, $10,000, $20,000 roads where we can get 4 or 5 of them to try to get them off our list. So the idea is what we've been doing is we've been going to the newer areas where there's pavement, new sidewalks, and we're trying to maintain those backwards, because we're in a point now where we've got a lot of stuff that's 20 to 30 years old, and we're not going to be able to put a fix on that right now. It's going to have to be completely redone. So we're trying to get everything that's at a 10-year span and try to get another 10 to 15 years out of it. So we're working that way. We also started the pulverizing on Wall, Glen, Bigelow, and Cliff this week. So we've started those. Those are full reclamation. We're going to get those over to binder. TL Edwards is right in line, so as soon as we finish, they're going to come in and binder them. We'll adjust the covers, and we'll roll right into those. The only difference in that area is we also have ADA ramps going in where you're entering onto Webster Street, and also where you're entering onto Liberty Street. So where we have the contract in place now, and anybody knows the hardest part of my job now is actually procurement. So we have a contract in place for curbing, sidewalks, and ADA ramps, and any of the miscellaneous projects we want to get done where we haven't had that last year. So we've added that. So the big difference is you'll still see the Cape Cod berms and the walkways, but where they meet the corners, that'll be all ADA with granite radius there. So that's a big difference from here on out. Once we get to the 7-year point on some of the roads we did last year, we'll revisit those when we start to get a little bit of cracking. We'll go back to those roads, we'll get the ADA, we'll do the radius there before we get into crack filling and we get into the micro sealing. So we get into that 7 to 10 year when we're starting to go downhill on those roads. So we'll also, the roads this year, we've got Earl, Arthur, Collins Court, and the lower end of Linwood Terrace. So those are full recs as well. So as soon as we're done with these 4 prepping, they're going right over to those next week. And then, like again, Edwards is coming right in. They're going to go in and get everything over to binder, the 8 roads. So significantly smaller than what we had last year. Like we had Myrtle and Exchange. Those roads are 2,500 linear feet. The biggest road we have this year is Cliff, and that's 1,500. So, the roads are it's a lot quicker. We estimate we'll be done about mid-September, and then we'll go and we'll clean up all the areas at that point. So, the other big thing is we have is in our 5-year plan, we set up a priority list. When we came in last year and we did the complete streets that the selectmen, you accepted that last year. So we were able to get that grant, our first part of the grant, which was $35,000. We set up a priority list with a Beta Group. They set up, we told them our significant areas that we wanted to get done. We prioritized it, Union Street being one. We split Union Street up into 3 phases. So we got the lower end, we've got downtown Union Street, and we've got the upper end of Union Street. So the lower end of Union Street is probably going to be the first phase that we do. There's less engineering involved there. There's not a lot of topography there where we have to. The upper end needs a lot of, there's a lot of engineering there as far as that goes. So that's going to be the second phase. And then downtown with the revitalization program, we obviously we don't want to step on any feet up there if there's building or tear downs or we don't know what we're getting into. That would be the last phase, and we'll tie everything together. The other big thing is I've been working with Alan on this. Is we've reached out to National Grid. We've got 1,700 linear feet on both sides of downtown. We're looking to get all the National Grid poles, all that infrastructure underground. That's being lightly engineered right now, where we can go present that to the state, and we can get an infrastructure grant, which some of the surrounding towns, Brockton just got a $9 million grant for that. So we're hoping, if we could get somewhere upwards of, close to $1 million, we could get everything underground. It's going to be a little bit more pedestrian friendly uptown. We'd be able to widen the sidewalks a little bit at that point. So it'd be great. We're looking to add bike lanes up on Union Street as well. Cut through take a little bit of the curse off of the bump outs that we have, because those can go right through. Let me see what else we got. Oh, the other area we have on the priority list is Liberty Street, East Water. I know I've gone over this with probably 40 people in town. It is. The temporary fix right now is we have a blinking stop sign. We've been working with the police on this. We have a blinking stop sign. It's one of the new solar-powered ones. So if we get to the point where we want to move that, we can move it. They're easy to move. So that will be entering onto Liberty Street, coming from the Union Street. That seems to be the biggest area where the people aren't stopping. Is what we got from the police department. The other one is going over to Spring Street, where you're entering onto Market Street. So we've got two of those that we're going to try out. And again, if the areas don't work out, we're able to move those. So it's a significant purchase, but if it saves a life, it's really, it's well worth it, even if you can curb the accidents. The other thing is that on the priority list has already been roughly engineered, and the first phase of that would be if we can get into that and we get the funds for it through one of the grants, maybe the Complete Streets, is we can tighten up the shoulders there, and the first part of it would be a four-way stop sign, and then it would already be set up for lighting there. If we decide we want to add lights in the second phase, that's going to probably run us around $250 to do that intersection, get it over the four-way. That will tighten up the shoulders, bring in the curbs. You'd be entering a little differently out of the gas station that's across the street, so it pushes the traffic out into different lanes as opposed to entering the intersections there. It seems to be an issue. Let's just see what else we got.
Dave, where did you say the flashing stop sign would be placed? On Liberty going towards Union Street?
No, entering from Union Street as you're entering Liberty Street. So that seems to be the biggest issue, coming from Union and going across that way.
Down East Water.
What's that? Down East Water.
down
Continuing
East
to
Water.
East Water, going to Webster.
Okay.
Right. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to have a stop ahead about 30 feet away, and then we're going to have the blinking stop sign, which is on 24/7.
Okay.
So, and again, the other issue was over on Spring Street, entering on the Market. Everybody knows it. You come up, and it's kind of like a 2-second rule, and they buzz through. So we're going to try those out this year, and then if we go over to a four-way stop over on that Liberty area, we can simply move that sign to another locale. So it's not like we're throwing money out.
How soon until that starts?
That's within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we started those probably in January. So, and those, again, they all have to go out to bid. 3 bids, the RFBs, so those are all in place. The RFBs will go in the week before school starts. They're actually scheduled to do the pedestals, the footings for those next week. If you notice, we've had a lot of the utility poles moved down there. We've got them out of the ADA ramp format, so anybody knows that to get the utility poles, it's like pulling an arm and a leg. We started that in January also, so they waited till we got the curb, and then they went on the back side of the curb 5 feet, so we have our 5-foot walkways. They've been great. National Grid's been absolutely great to work with. We were surprised. We found a few curb boxes buried under the sidewalk, and they were able to move those to the back side of the sidewalk, so we won't have any obstacles in the way. Again, the only issue was we couldn't get all the telephone poles moved on Reed Street. It's just not possible, so we just moved the sidewalk format out to 6 feet, and we were able to get 4 feet on the back side of that. So, and we fixed a ton of drainage issues around the school project. We had a big drainage issue at the culvert on Division Street, so that's been amended, and we probably had 5 or 6 catch basins that needed to be rebuilt at the same time. So which went into our maintenance budget a little bit, as far as our drainage, because we set up about a $50,000 drainage budget right now. So, and then as far as the maintenance, that's another point I wanted to touch on. So we set up a budget with the maintenance. We've been good enough. Alan's been working with me on it, as well as Eric in the finance, and we've got an increased budget in it, over the next few years. So what we've done is we've taken it, we've broken it down. When I went to finance,
Yep.
Mike knows, is we broke it down. We've got, $25,000 for crack filling, to try to get those roads that are at that 7-year point, which if you go back to where our first override was for the road project, those roads are already hitting, 7 or 8 years old. So now it's time we got to get on those and maintain them. So we're getting into the crack filling phase of that. Asphalt patching, we've allowed like 50,000. Structure rebuilds, which last year we did over 100 structure rebuilds. So it took a big chunk of our budget, and we've got 25,000 allotted there. And then we've also allotted out of our budget ADA ramps, miscellaneous ADA ramps, and crossing sections that we thought were some bad intersections, and we've taken 25 to 50 to try to do that. And again, if we could do it all at one time, we would fix every walkway in town, but we have to go. We're starting at the schools, we're working our way out to the main roads, and once that's all done, then we'll start concentrating on some of the worst areas. So we've got it's a tight budget even on the road project. I mean, there's a set budget on every road. So once you get to that, we can't go over it, because if you take away from that one, and you take away from the next one, and the next one, and then what you're doing is you're deleting, 8 to 9 roads off of this list, and no one wants to see that. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. I mean, long-term goals for us is we're looking to make this probably one of the most, I want to make this the most pedestrian-friendly town, which is what, the state's looking for. We're going to get a lot more grants if we make it accessible for every mode, whether it be a bicyclist, a walker, a runner, automobiles, everything. That's what we're looking to do. We're looking to tie up the drainage. I know Deirdre's helped us on some of the drainage issues. We have that coming up. That is another whole thing in itself. The MS4, compliance that we've got is lucky. We've been bumped back till next July. So, but we've got a few drainage issues in town, and I know I've talked to Larry about it. We had a meeting on the Manzella area. We're looking to get that Manzella area squared up this year, and we've got a couple other issues through town, as well as Moncrief Road, which we're looking to get some engineering. So, there's a lot coming up, but that seems to be about the wrap-up. Any questions, or?
How about crosswalks and striping, restriping and crosswalks?
They started last night. Yeah, so what we've done is, in the past, they seem to do it around September. So what we thought is, well, the way it was striped, once you get into September, you only get probably 3 or 4 months, and then you're pretty well scraping the paint up. So what we've started a little later than we wanted to this year, just because there were so many road projects spread out. We're over on North Ave, we're over on the the west side over by Bay Path. We're in the middle of town. So anybody that knows, when you're doing asphalt work, you're dragging the emulsion, and so you're just going to annihilate. You're going to annihilate your striping. So that's the only reason why we held off on the Myrtle Street area, because you're simply going to be tracking it over brand new, white crosswalks. So once that's done, it's all lined up. They're going to come in. They did the crosswalks, Union Street, and some of the main roads. They're actually going out tonight. And they're going to go out a couple nights next week. And then we've got some center lines and fog lines being done next week. We've got North Ave, Union, Plain Street. So we've got all the main roads are going to be, all be striped out. And then once the school project's done, we'll tighten up everything around the school. We have everything lined up, so by August 28th, we're rolling in. Everything's all striped out. The push button systems are up, and we're ready to go for the kids. So, yeah.
Saw a street sweeper go by my house the other day. Is that ours?
Yes.
We own one now?
Yeah. No, we have 2 street sweepers. We haven't got the new one yet.
Haven't got the new one yet.
We've actually been demoing a couple different models, so we've been reaching out. So we demo the models, and we're reaching out to other towns that use those models. So before, it's a significant purchase.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, we have a street sweeper that's 1995 and one that's a 99. Anybody that knows that, I mean, all they do is rattle, a street sweeper is a maintenance nightmare. So it just constantly needs work. So, you know, to get a new one, we want to make sure it's going to be the right purchase for us, and it's going to last for a while.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, and we actually just picked up the snow plow that we got. So we actually went with a track machine, which is 4 feet wide. So as opposed to the trackless, this is actually, it works like a small tank. We demoed it last year. It's a little tighter. What we're gonna try to do is on the new sidewalks we have, we're actually gonna have somebody in that at the schools during the snowstorms. And we did that at Union Street last year. So soon as the storm's done, you got everything by the schools will be done, and everything uptown will be done, and then we'll work our way from that area, you know, out to the main. So, you know, it's almost impossible to hit every sidewalk. It's just not economically feasible to do that during a snowstorm. But if we can concentrate on those two areas, I think it'll help us, you know, opening up the schools. So, yeah.
I just have two questions.
Yeah.
Just refresh my memory. What was the total maintenance budget right now?
Total maintenance budget of this year is 275.
275, and with the goal of 500, was it?
The goal is we're going to get an increase until we reach 500.
500, okay.
So between the 500 and the 350 to 400, we'd be close to the $1 million budget, which is reasonable. You could get some roads.
Yep.
You could get some roads done. You're honestly going to spend, I mean, between doing structures and crack filling, micro sealing, asphalt patching, you know, you're going to spend, to do it right, $100,000 to $200,000 a year on our roads. You know, we have 70 miles of roads, and it's actually double that of sidewalks. So.
Okay, and the second question, a couple people have brought up the vegetation on Myrtle and Exchange.
Yeah, we went over that. That's been subbed out to
Okay.
a company out of Hanson.
Okay.
And he's actually coming back in. He came in, they seeded it the end of May, and then we weren't happy with that, so he actually came out and he hydroseeded it, but at that point it's June.
It's too late, yeah.
Yeah, it's too late. So if you look at the areas that are done well down there, it's the shaded areas.
That looks pretty good.
And that's about it. But he's
Okay.
coming back in the fall, so that was a high-end seed, so it worked well on the field. They did the football field for us.
Yeah.
The low rover worked great there.
Yeah, it looked awesome down
because
there.
it has irrigation.
Yep.
But honestly, it's something we won't pursue again. What we'll do is we'll never seed again in the spring. Our road project is going to be ending in about mid-September. It's going to be the perfect time to do it. We have a company that's going to come in, it's going to loom, and then there's a company that's going to come in and hydroseed.
Perfect.
It'll be the only time we do it. If we get laps like we did last year and we just ran late into the year, trying to get things done, and then next thing you know, we're throwing on snow plows and we weren't able to get it done. So from this point on, only seeding will be done in the fall. It's a no-brainer. You're not competing against a weed. So, yeah. But we did bring that up, and he's committed to coming back in the fall and hitting those areas again. So.
Excellent.
Are there any plans for, I know you mentioned Liberty and East Water, that there's a preliminary engineering done to go to four-way stop.
Right.
But is there any other areas in town, like at Union and VFW, seems we have a lot of traffic up there because of
Yeah.
the stops, well, we'll say the stop.
Yeah.
Some people wait forever where a light may help
Right.
alleviate some of the traffic. And the same thing at Spring and Market. I know you mentioned you're going to put a
Right.
stop sign there, but those are tough intersections depending on what time of day, early morning or
Yeah.
late afternoon to get out of. So I don't know if
And
there's anything we could pursue.
Where it is, because then, once you get into Spring entering Market, then you're looking at a state road at that point. So you have to reach out to them. The plans that we found that we had was the Liberty Street East Water area. So we had a plan that was done, I think, probably 12 to 15 years ago at one point. But obviously, it's going to have to be updated and submit that. So you're going to have to get it re-engineered. I mean, the easiest fix there, I mean, we looked at a roundabout, but, to do a roundabout in this town, it would be a nightmare, trying to get
you
people
no curb,
acclimated
yeah. You get
to
the
a
gas tank right
roundabout.
there, yeah.
And the only alternative to that wouldn't kill us would be a four-way stop sign. And then you're curbing and everything's already set in place, and then you can always add the lights at another point. You can add the lights. So, I mean, that seems to be, talking to, Beta Group, that's who did some prelim plans for us. They said once you tighten that up and you go to a four-way there, I mean, it's just gonna, honestly, it's just getting people acclimated to it. I mean, because people are just used to
So used to it.
buzzing through there, and it's confusing. It's
And
confusing.
just
if you're not
tightening it
done.
up itself will slow traffic.
It will.
Even without the stop signs, when you make the
Yeah.
intersection
Right.
tighter, it makes people slow
Slow
down
them
before
down.
they turn and
And
everything.
the state is pushing that right now. I know, we're one of those fortunate towns where we have some really wide roads in town. I mean, you get into
Oh, yeah.
I know we say a 24-foot road is not a wide road. That's a wide road. I mean, the state wants to push 11-foot lanes right now. 11 foot, so that's 22. And then if you add a couple feet on either side, for a fog line, or even on the side street. So even, a 20-foot road. I mean, if you go, into other areas, other towns, I mean, you're looking at 18-foot roads, 16, you got Church Street, that's 60 feet wide, so.
Yeah.
That's why it hasn't been paved yet. It's a highway. So, so we've been working with a bunch of different obstacles, and, keep in mind when we did Myrtle Street and Exchange Street too, those walkways had to be 5 feet. So, in order to get 5 feet, and around the poles, you're kicking the format in as well. So, especially when you're pulling curbing, old, concrete curbing. Then you have to go out, you have to go inside the format a little bit, or you're going to get settlement where you're putting the asphalt from the concrete curbing. Doesn't matter how much you compact it. Everybody I talk to, that's the issues they've been doing it in other towns. I mean, Hingham's been great. I mean, I've reached out to the DPW director over there. They have literally some of the, when I first got on, I asked around who has the best roads around here. Everybody said Hingham. So that's where we're kind of doing a model around what they're doing, and that hence the micro sealing, which is, that's 20% emulsion, 80% stone dust, and then they have Portland 1 type cement. So it's ugly when you first put it down. It's not like, you're doing your driveway seal coat, so it's not pretty when you get down. But the phrase that everybody uses, it gets trafficked in. More traffic on it, the better it looks. It doesn't fade out. So where you got a road that we did 3 years ago, it's going to turn gray. This doesn't. This doesn't turn gray. It stays this color. Longevity wise. Hingham's over. I looked at roads they did last year, and they were from 1999, just starting to crack. And they've looped completely around where they're on those roads now, and redoing them. So, it's good to see what other people were going around and doing. There's different ways. There's some ways we'll never see in this town that, it completely wouldn't work, and then there's other ways I think we can save the taxpayers some money and get some longevity out of the road. So,
Speaking of the micro sale, I know my road was done recently.
Yeah.
And it looks like they went from curb to curb with the micro seal, but the little patch where they had cut in to the sidewalk, onto the apron,
Right.
at the driveways, do they come back and seal those?
yes, so that's a good point. So what we've done is this is just one area of town. We've got French's Crossing and Azalea, where I talked about where they have good sidewalks, and we're going to try to maintain those. So what we did in those areas, you saw we cut out. We did a lot of patching on those sidewalks. So we actually we have a contract with a company that's going to come out, actually crack fill those now, and actually seal coat it. So what they're going to do is, what we did is we use a small binder entering the aprons, and those will be seal coated. So they'll run a strip across that, seal coat it, and then down the road, if the homeowner seal coats it, you'll have double protection on it. The seal coat machine won't come up onto a apron or a sidewalk. So it's a totally different process on doing the sidewalks. We did the same thing on French's Crossing. We looked at what it would cost to replace it. We're getting into points like that, and it's easy to maintain it. We should get another 15 years out of before we have to put any more money into those. So those walkways are 20-something years old. So those are some of our better walkways in town. So those areas where the aprons, they'll tape them off. They'll do those when they're doing the sidewalks. So.
And the only other concern, talking to some people in town, was they had asked what the makeup was of the micro seal. If there's anything we could put like an MSDS sheet up online or something.
Yeah, we're working with Seal Coat Inc. They're actually doing their website over right now, and once they set up a link, we'll have that available, so you can get it from our website, and it tells exactly what it does. And again, what I did is we researched it, went out and saw probably 30 of those jobs last year. Hingham does theirs at night, which probably wouldn't work over here unless we're on a main road. I mean, the beauty of that is, you wake up in the morning, and you just go. There's no waiting to get into a development or one entrance. So, but a lot of towns like Hingham, we'll just use them for an example. They don't use a top coat. What they've done is they'll use a binder. They'll go 3.5 inches of binder, and they'll do this double micro on it. And they've been getting a lot of use out of those roads. So really bad roads too. So it's just another alternative. And if you do it like that, you're actually saving probably 30% as opposed to doing a top coat. So
So we can get more for less.
yeah. Well, again, it's one of those things. I mean, again, it's not the prettiest thing when you went down, and I've questioned it every time I've seen it done. And even where it browned out a little bit in like your neighborhood, so that's just it's normal because they get that in September. I saw some being done in the middle of the summer where it's hot and it blackens right up, and then I saw some getting done in September and October, and it stays brown because there's a moisture content in the air at that point. So and it does. Again, the phrase is it gets trafficked in, it'll blacken up, and then 4 years from now, it's still going to be a dark road, and it's going to look 100% better than anything else we have.
I thought it was a dirt road at first with the brown.
What is it?
I thought it was a dirt road with the
Yeah.
brown at first.
So,
But
any other questions or?
anybody else from the board?
Nope.
No, I think we're on the right track. I mean, it's nice to see the sidewalks done
Yeah.
around the schools, especially what the walk is.
Right.
And it's nice to know that the sidewalks, moving forward will be done around the schools to accommodate the walkers, and that
Right.
you're gonna actually set up snow removal equipment for the sidewalks as well.
Yeah.
'Cause that's always a big concern for people who walk, so they're not in the road.
Yeah. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a big impact as far as getting everything done by the schools this year, and then working our way out. I mean, in 5 years, you'll have everything by the schools done. North Ave would be done. Plain Street will be done. Then we're hopping over to Concord Street and Spring Street, get those done. So those seem to be problem areas. Old Market Street, entering into the Wyman's Field area, that area is a tough area right there. I mean, these seem to be the most areas that people have issues with. So those are and then at that point, that's a 5-year, and we'll assess where we're at, and we'll keep going on the main roads. There's not a lot of granite curbing in town, so we can reuse that. Like you get up onto Beach Hill and Summer Street, we can get into that, and that's a pull and reset. So, and then maybe you're buying, 30 sections as opposed to, a road of 50 sections, so it's not, you're going to save some money, as far as that goes. So, we'll leave it to the next administration coming in 30 years, and they can pull the curb and reset it, and wow, we got some granite, it's just the way it is. So, but again, that's all coming out of Chapter 90 at this point, unless we come up with some money to do that. So.
I think
Maybe
it's
we could
good.
have a buy a curb thing, you put a little bronze plate on the,
Yeah.
on
We
your own
actually-
curb, huh?
yeah.
Donated by?
We actually tried to break it down on like what it would cost per household, like if you took it a household.
Yeah.
It ranges, depending on the frontage you have, but it ranges from, the low point's $3,000, and it can go up to $6,000 per house, one side. So it adds up, to do it, it's about $50, it's $50 a foot for granite curbing. Not including the prep of the sidewalk or the sidewalk.
Yeah, right.
At that
If you're
point.
the poor guy who lives on the corner.
Yeah, right. You guys, you got 200 feet in front of your house, so.
I think I'm good with what we have.
Yeah, it's expensive, so, but, again, that's why we weren't off our priority list. Obviously, the school is,
It
schools
lasts
are-
forever too, though.
yeah, it's top priority, so, yeah.
I would, a couple of things I want to add. I've been working with Dave also on, we've talked about the 2 side yards here at Town Hall, so when he gets a spare moment between all of those projects, Dave's been coming up and working with us, and we're going to try and tackle the 2 side yards this year and make them more user-friendly. Also, Dave's agreed to work with us in the fall because the senior center, it's a great problem to have, is getting too much use, and we need to expand their auxiliary parking a little bit towards some of the recreational fields, and the rec department has been very cooperative with us, and they're working with us, and we're coming up with a plan to have that little overflow area made a little more permanent and make it aesthetically nice, and Dave's been helpful with all of that. I do want to say to the public who have stayed with us through this meeting, just as a reminder on where you put your fences, you have to leave room for snow removal off of the sidewalks. And Tom Rubel has instituted that the solid core fences that you see, people are putting up walls like President Trump wants to, I guess, down on the Mexican border, but they're putting up walls, and sometimes it's right up against the sidewalk, which means, number one, they're probably on town property to begin with, but Mr. Rubel has instituted a new rule that the fences have to be 4 feet off of the sidewalk. So 4 feet back so that we have room to move the snow off. And any fences that are damaged, if you put it up there and it's on town property, we are not replacing. We are not paying for the replacement. So it's nice when it looks great in the summer, but when it comes to the winter, we need someplace for the snow to go. So as a reminder, there have been a couple of people who have already been told that they have to move their fences back. We try and contact the fence companies as well as the homeowners and tell them just for notification. But community cooperation would be greatly appreciated.
No permit to get a fence?
There will be at the next town meeting.
There you go.
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay, next up, item number 10, Town Administrator's Report and Correspondence. Mr. Chalker.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a number of things, there's a few things that were already in, but I want to bring to your attention. Number one, outstanding job by the town clerk's office, Donna Shawdall, and her staff have reduced the number of unlicensed dogs in this town to somewhere down around 100. We used to run somewhere around 1,200, if not higher, of unlicensed dogs. If you remember at the last meeting, you gave us another month of waiver, and between the work of the staff and/or people coming in to pay their taxes and the letters that went out from the Board of Selectmen telling them that they would be subject to fines, it worked a great deal of magic. I believe somewhere close to 200 more dogs in the last month were finally registered, and sometimes you just have to get people used to it. In order to license your dog, you have to have a rabies shot. Some of the dogs did not have the form from the vets that they had their shots, or they hadn't been done, which is not safe for anybody. It's a public safety issue that dogs get their rabies shots. So kudos to Donna Shawdall and everybody in the clerk's office for getting that done. And now what happens is those unlicensed dogs or dog owners get a visit from the animal control officer, along with a little gift from the town. It's a fine that's involved, and they still have to license the dogs. But, you know, we're probably at this point 4 months beyond the norm. But it was a real problem in this town, quite honestly. I can remember joking and saying, it's amazing, 1,000 new people must have gotten dogs in the last year. For whatever reason, it wasn't being enforced, it wasn't being done, but they have
They
really
actually have a
taken the bull
rabies
by the
clinic
horn.
they host, too.
Excuse me?
The town clerk's office actually hosts the rabies clinics
We
here with the Board of Health for the
With
town.
the Board of Health working with the Animal Control Officer, Patty Woodmore, we have a rabies clinic, which is, I think, minimum. It's like $10, which we advertise. And
It's a
people
lot
can
less expensive
bring the
than a
dog
trip to
in,
the vet,
so,
is what I'm,
part of this is people getting trained to know that they have to license their dog every year. I think a rabies shot is actually good for more than a year, isn't it?
3 years. 3 years after, I think it's just, 1 year, you get one, then another one the next year, and then after the second shot, I think it's 3-year wait. Something like that.
I think it's in the public interest that we know that the animals have had their shots and that they are licensed, so.
Quick word on rabies. Raccoons, foxes, skunks, if you see them during the day, they're wandering around the yard, whatever thing, stay away from them. That usually means they're sick. They're usually nocturnal creatures, so if you see unusual wildlife in your yard or anything wandering around during the day, then make sure your kids are away and just call the animal control officer, because more than likely that animal could be sick, and rabies is not really one of those things you really want to get. It is very curable, but the cure is worse than the bite almost. So just pay attention when you're out there, because there are an awful lot of wildlife in Rockland. We don't see it, and that's the way it should be. But if you do begin to see them, notify someone, because those animals could be sick. That's it.
Mr. Chairman, there's a request for an annual block party on Durbeck Road, which is, has to be approved. They've done it for the last 2 years and wish to do it again this year on August 12th from 12 to 8 p.m. They have already contacted Lieutenant Cioli, who usually coordinates with all the departments in order to put up the barriers and close down a small section of Durbeck Road between Pearson and Dow. Does require a vote of the Board of Selectmen to allow
Motion
that.
to approve?
All those in favor?
Thank
That's
you.
unanimous vote.
I've been notified by the Board of Assessors that Heidi Hosmer is moving out of town, and so there will be a vacancy. Typically, this is what we do when there is a vacancy. We announce it in an open meeting and ask for any volunteers. So if there's anyone who is interested in joining the Board of Assessors, we will at some point, when we get a volunteer or two, have a vote of the Board of Selectmen joint meeting with the assessors to try and fill that position. The next Selectmen's meeting is not until September 5th, but, or if any of the board members know anyone who would be interested in being an assessor here in town. I spoke about the fences, just a reminder, that's a 4-foot setback from the edge of the sidewalk. I did ask the Downtown Revitalization Committee to look at the possibility of a overnight parking ban year-round in this business section of Union Street. There are some residents that sometimes live in the upstairs apartments that are coming home at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, parking their cars, and that is affecting some of the businesses because it means now that a business space is not available for some of our downtown businesses. They do have parking. Sometimes parking street front is a little more convenient. So they will hopefully have a recommendation by the next town meeting, unless the board takes action sooner. We will be going into, as you know, our usual no overnight parking. We talked about licensing dogs. A reminder on the farmers market every Friday here at Town Hall, right on the plaza, from 3 to 7, and that is through September 15th. And once again, a reminder that Town Hall is closed on Fridays through September 7th. I think we are open September 7th for the first time. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Selectmen's comments. Comments and opinions expressed by the individual members do not necessarily reflect the views of all the Board of Selectmen and are the opinions and comments of only the individual member. With that, Ms. Hall?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Today I had the opportunity to meet with Tom Berkeley from Union Point to discuss some of the concerns with the drainage coming from the Union Point development, specifically into French's Creek. I was able to take a look at the catchment delineation for Union Point. However, they did not have any topography available for me, so it was difficult for me to tell exactly where it was draining. I've made some additional requests of them to get additional plans and reports. They should be forthcoming by the end of the month, and hopefully I'll have a better idea of what impact, if any, that development's had from its previous development, pre-development, I guess, activities to post-development activities. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. O'Loughlin?
You know, I've been working with this group, Rockland Cares, for a little bit, and I had reached out to them, and you know, I think we talk about them a lot, and we reference them as a group in town that is vital. But I don't think a lot of people in town really know what they're all about. So I asked them to put together something for me to read. So they sent this to me this morning. Rockland Cares Community Awareness, Resources, Education Support is a community-based nonprofit that focuses on providing information, education, and support for people who have been impacted by the chronic disease of addiction. This may include people active in their addiction, folks in recovery, and family and friends of them. The group is comprised of Rockland residents, former Rockland residents, people in recovery, and representatives from other community-based organizations who work in substance use outreach, who are all passionate about helping our community battle this epidemic. The group meets monthly or semi-monthly to plan events, strategize, and identify ways to have a positive impact on this epidemic in our community. Meetings are usually scheduled at 6:30 p.m. at the Webster Street Rehabilitation Center on Webster Street in Rockland. The next event will be their 7th annual Candlelight Vigil. The event will be held on Thursday, August 31st at 6 p.m. at the Rockland High School Auditorium. Last year, there were over 500 community members present, and it was an inspiring night for all that attended. The event will have several speakers, musical guests, and a memorial video to remember our loved ones who have lost their battle with addiction. If you have someone you know that may benefit from the resources of Rockland Cares or would like to be involved in the mission of the organization, you can learn more on their website, which is www.rocklandcares.org. They have a Facebook page under Rockland Cares, an Instagram, Rockland Cares, and Twitter @Rockland Cares. I followed up with just some questions, some statistics over the last 5 years as far as overdose deaths in the town of Rockland. They've grown exponentially. In 2012, there were 2 overdose deaths. In 2013, there were 3. 2014, there were 6. 2015, there were 10. And last year, there were 18 overdose deaths in town of Rockland. And at this point in 2017, they're projecting to surpass or at least equal that 18 deaths. This is clearly an epidemic that's not going away, and people are always looking to get involved. I think what better way to get involved than educate the public, educate the youth, and work with this group and show up on August 31st for the Candlelight Vigil. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Ryan?
My condolences to the family of the Laughlins for losing their mother in the last week. John was the sewer department guy, a good friend of mine. We go way back. It's just too bad. Good family. Heidi Hosmer, thanks for all you've done for the town of Rockland. You've always pitched in, never been afraid to stand up and do something for the town. We're going to miss you. Don't forget to stop by and say hello. I had the opportunity to go outside. There was a gathering of people out front of town hall this evening before the meeting, and we wondered what they were doing out there. And so I had to be curious. I had to go out and find out. And a bunch of them must have been about, I don't know, a dozen or more. They were killing some monster on Pokemon, and they had to all do it together. So they all met here at town hall to beat the wicked beast of town hall. I thought they were talking about Ed, but it wasn't him. But I thought that was pretty funny. And summertime's going along. It's Midsummer's Day today. The daylight's getting shorter, and school's going to be coming up pretty soon. I just wanted to remind all the school kids in Rockland that your time's running out, going back soon. But just be careful. Everybody seems to be pretty safe so far this summer, and let's keep it that way. I'm all set, Ed.
Okay, thank you. I think everybody else already touched base on just about everything I had on my list. Again, I'd like to express my condolences to the Laughlin family as well. And don't forget Kathy Stewart, who does the holiday stroll. Yep. So, again, great family, and they do a lot for the town of Rockland. So, Rockland's actually had a few losses this year from a lot of from some older residents who have been pillars of the community. So, you know, we need to have some more younger people step up and start to fill some of those shoes. Although they'll be hard to fill, but I think once you start to get involved, it kind of grows and it takes off. So if we can get some people out there, it'd be great to do that. As far as Rockland Cares, Mike, I believe they're also going to be hosting a get-together between the Board of Selectmen and some other people to offer some insight of what they can actually do to start to expand the opioid educational process, as well as what we could do to maybe come up with some ideas for treating some people. It is an addiction, and as unfortunate it is, sometimes people can't control that. So it's tough to realize that unless anyone's had firsthand experience it in their family. And some families, unfortunately have seen more than their fair share of it. So it is a serious issue, not only here in Rockland, but across the country, that really needs to be addressed. And, by reading off some of the statistics, we've gone from, less than a handful to multiple handfuls in less than 5 years. And that's a lot. One is too many. So, whatever we can do to maybe start to work on that problem. And I don't know what the solution is. I think it's going to take not only education, but it's going to take treatment, and it might even take something that, we have to commit something, we might have to budget something to address it. I mean, it's something that, that affects everybody in the community, not just the individual who may have the addiction. So it's something we really have to consider as a community to try to resolve. I know in the past, everyone's kind of, it didn't happen to them, so it was just kind of pushed off. It's not going to happen to me, and I think that there's probably not one of us in this entire room or on this board that doesn't know of somebody in some way or form that has had some experience, whether it's, the end result of death or the fact that, they're still using. So it's difficult, but we have to try to find ways to help those people and, help the community at the same time. We will not be meeting until after Labor Day, so I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Labor Day. Hope everyone's summer's been going good. We've got a nice stretch of weather here, and it's good to hear from Dave Taylor tonight. I know that the majority of us on the board have spoken to Dave independently, and we've all been asking questions about the micro seal and the sidewalks and the repairs and stuff, so it's good to actually see that actually happen, and it's actually good to let the people in Rockland know that, their tax dollars are at work and the overrides they voted for were actually, it's happening, the work is getting done. I know my road was one of the newer roads at 25 years old, and by going with the micro seal route, actually saves money, but now by having the sidewalks done, it'll actually extend the longevity and the life of the sidewalks as opposed to getting back to some of the sidewalks that need to be completely done. So I think it's a different mindset going through and trying to maintain versus replace. And by maintaining, we can extend the life cycle, which, hopefully will save us money and allow us to go back and replace. But again, once the things are replaced and maintained, it's something that needs to be, it's like painting a bridge. You need, once it's done, you got to do it again. Because if you don't, it's going to rot and rust, and at some point the bridge becomes unsafe. So roads are no different. So we need to make sure that we continue being diligent and increasing the budget for maintenance and supporting that as a town. So we have the same issues with our buildings and some grounds. So, I mean, it goes across the board. We need infrastructure, and once we have it, we got to maintain it. And the only other thing I have is we're going to put a poll up on what color to paint this room because it's getting...
How big is the pole going to be?
I don't know. It could be a tall pole or it could be a short pole. I don't know. But no, seriously, a lot of things have been happening in town that have been good. We have some new developments coming in. We have a diner that's going to be coming in off of Hingham Street. There's a couple of other projects that can't be announced yet, but they're in the works that'll actually benefit Rockland in the future. The new car dealership is already under construction on Hingham Street, so there's a lot of things that are happening here, and I think a lot of it is really due to the voters supporting the town and the employees we have, because the employees actually do a pretty good job and they don't get credit enough. I mean, I know when they're doing my road, they were out there bright and early. They were there at the end of the day. And if anyone, I know I had a question, I seen some other neighbors talking to the people from the highway department, and they were very courteous and responsive, and it's good to see that happen. It's nice to know that we have a town that's small enough that they care about the people, but big enough to get the job done. So I appreciate that. That's all I have for tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.
Don't forget
Have a
the
good night.
eclipse.